2 years ago, I bought a smoker house, and here's everything I've done to renovate the kitchen. I started by removing this nicotine forest from above the cabinets, and my main goal was to open up this space. There was a non-load bearing wall in between the living room and kitchen, so I removed that, and it started to feel a lot bigger in here. I will say it was a little bit of a bigger project than I anticipated, but totally worth it in the end. My sister and mom were here for the first weekend, and they help clean all of the walls with TSP cleaner and then do a lot of coats of primer and paint in the kitchen as well. For the most part, demo was pretty easy, except when I removed the stove, I had a little bit of a heart attack because I thought there was a dead mouse. It turns out to be a cat toy. And I also had to disconnect the old security system. And when I did that, this giant megaphone thing started going off in the attic somewhere. So I had to crawl up there, find it, and disconnect it. And it was like literally the middle of the night. My dad flew out for the second weekend of this project to help me remove the rest of the wall. He's done a lot of house renovations before, so it was really helpful having him here. And I wanted to extend the new countertop past this wall so there could be a seating area. So we made sure to cut the wall the same height as the cabinets so that countertop could sit flat on it. Then we did patch all of the drywall from this new half wall and up into the ceiling, but I hired out for the texturing part. I hadn't done a lot of drywall texture at this point in my DIY journey, so I decided just to hire it out. They took 2 days to get this all textured and fixed, and especially since this involved some patching of the ceiling, I just wanted to make sure it looked right so it would not be obvious that there was a hole here before. In order to save money, I kept the original cabinets but gave them a new coat of paint. I started by cleaning them off. This is the water from just one cabinet. It's so dirty. And then I sanded everything down with 120, then 220 grit sandpaper. I used just some leftover primer from the walls. I probably would use a shellac-based primer if I was doing this again, but I would recommend using a paint sprayer. It makes everything look so much more professional. I decided on the color Ultra Pure White from Behr, and let's pretend that I decided that on the first time that I painted the cabinets, and I didn't do this multiple times, but I sanded 220 grit in between the primer and the cabinet and trim enamel that I used for the final coat. And this was a really quick and easy way to give this kitchen a completely new life without having to buy all new cabinets. And I think I spent like $200-ish on this. My favorite upgrade in the kitchen is the new countertops. I was able to remove the old ones and donate them to someone who is actually building a new house from scratch. And then I got new quartz countertops that look like marble. I don't know if you've ever watched someone install counters before, but it was kind of stressful for me. I wasn't the one making all the cuts, but I can't imagine what would happen if you cut the sink in the wrong place or something. So I was definitely glad that I got the pros out here to do this. And I really love that now there's this extra seating area here in the front part of the kitchen. And then I went ahead and finished it off with some black hardware and faucets, and I really love how much brighter and open this kitchen is now. The kitchen was lacking a much needed element of contrast, so I decided to go bold and I installed black tiles for my backsplash. Now, this was my first time tiling anything, and I chose apparently one of the hardest shapes to install, which is hexagons. So if you are tiling for your first time, I would maybe recommend a subway tile or a square or something that's a little bit easier to work with. I was able to figure it out though, but probably the hardest part for me is I didn't quite know where to stop or take a break. So once I started getting them up on the wall, I just kept going till everything was there. I waited 24 hours before I grouted, and I really love this black backsplash. I think maybe next time I would do a darker colored grout, but I'm still really happy with this as my first tiling job, and I think it adds a much needed little element of contrast to this all white kitchen. My last project in here was removing the old fluorescent lights. These had an old plastic cover on them that kind of looked like a skylight. I'm sure you can imagine what I'm talking about. So I decided to put LED recessed lights in the kitchen instead, and then I needed to fill in these old holes. So I put new studs in. Don't worry, they were pretty strong. I tested it out, and I patched the drywall myself, but again, hired somebody else to do the texture process because I wanted it to look very professional in here. I'm really happy with the results, and I think this modernizes the kitchen a ton. Here's a quick refresher of the before. I wish you could smell just how smelly it was in here from all the smoke. And here it is now. It's so much more open and bright, and I love the way this kitchen feels. One thing I didn't mention in this video is I did put new flooring in as well, and that helped brighten it up a ton. Let me know what you think in the comments and follow me for more home DIYs and renovations.